Well, hey now, welcome to Fitz Electric Bar. So today marks my second anniversary in the vinyl community. It's amazing how time flies. Time takes a cigarette, puts it in your mouth, pulls on the trigger. Little David Bowie there for you. And as I celebrate my second anniversary, if you are so inclined and are not yet a subscriber, maybe subscribe and hit the like button and be much appreciated. Back to the regularly scheduled program. I thought I would do to celebrate the 2 years in the VC was I've picked 10 songs. They're just 10 songs. That could be any other 10 songs, but these are ones that have meant a tremendous amount to me over duration of my lifetime. So I thought I'd just talk about 10 songs. One of the things that somebody mentioned recently that left an impression on me was they were saying, why don't you pick some of the songs off the albums that you really like or that you show? Not me specifically, but I was reading comments on another post, and I thought that's a really good point. I started a while ago putting playlists together, but my streaming platform is Tidal, and many people don't use Tidal. And the extra clicking or going off of one platform onto another platform from YouTube to Tidal or Spotify or whatever is often something I don't think people really do. So anyways, I'm going to put the links as best I can to the songs that I've chosen here so you can give a chance to listen to them. If you don't already know them, some of these will be fairly familiar to some, maybe an introduction to others, but these are songs that just have left a tremendous impression on me, maybe tied into my life in some ways, and I'll see if I can kind of touch on how I connect with these songs or when they came into my life and why they're meaningful to me. So we'll start off with one of my absolute favorites, and that would be Paul Westerberg, lead singer, songwriter, guitarist for The Replacements. And I don't have this on vinyl, unfortunately, but 14 sons. This might be his first solo record, post Replacements, came out around the time of All Shook Down, I think. I think I've mentioned this before on this channel, but I think Paul Westerberg is really one of the greats in the singer-songwriter category. And the song I'm going to refer to, although there are many on this CD/record that I love, but Runaway Wind, and just the opening line of it, he is able to write songs about people who are struggling with their identity or don't fit in or are not realizing their potential. And he does such a good job of it. And he creates such a deep empathy for those people. And I think sometimes he might be talking about an aspect of himself, but who knows, but he does such a good job of it. And the song Runaway Wind, the opening line is, "You don't blow like the breeze you were born to be." And it reminds me a little bit of the song Aching to Be off of Dead Man's Pop or Don't Tell a Soul. And it's got that same kind of thing where the person is not really been able to find themselves in their life. They haven't been able to kind of manifest or actualize their uniqueness. And he really, again, Westerberg is so good at being able to connect with people that some might consider to be sort of losers or people who have not really been able to stick out from the crowd or to show their uniqueness, but they are unique and they are people who we may know, or there may be elements of ourselves in those people. And again, he has tremendous empathy for them and in their struggles to just actually become, fully able to express the uniqueness and their character and their personality out in the world. And I love that. So this is, to me, a tremendous CD, 14 songs. Paul Westerberg, Runaway Wind. The opening track, Knockin' on Mine, is a classic kind of Replacement style shit kicker, as it were. Dice Behind Your Shades, another great song. Things, which is a very simple little riff, but again, he creates such a connection between listener and him as the singer-songwriter. But so that's track one, Runaway Wind, off of 14 songs, and Paul Westerberg. Next up, again, another CD that I have not got this on vinyl, but Luna's Penthouse. This was my introduction into Luna. This would have been their, I believe, third record. So Luna came out of the ashes of Galaxy 500. I have never really been able to fully embrace Galaxy 500. To me, I heard Luna first, even though the order was reversed in terms of the chronology. But Dina Wareham, Sean Eden, and different, like Britta wasn't in the band at this time, the now bass player and wife of Dean. And the drummer, I think, was different as well. This record, again, introducing me to Luna, very, I think, New York sounding record. Even the picture on the cover seems very New York, very urban. The songwriting is wonderful, quirky lyrics. But one of the beautiful qualities of this band is the guitar interplay of Dean Wareham and Sean Eden. One's a Gibson and one is a Fender. So their guitars have different tones. They take turns doing leads. I think Sean does a little bit more of the leads, but Dean and Sean's guitar leads, it's different, but it reminds me of what made television so special with Richard Lloyd and Tom Verlaine. This is an excellent album. The track I really love, and I don't think it gets a lot of love off of this record. There's a lot of stuff on here that people point to, and certainly 23 Minutes in Brussels, Sideshow by the Seashore, Chinatown. But the one that I absolutely love is Double Feature. It bounces. It's beautiful. It reminds me of the Seed 2.0 from The Roots. I believe this maybe preceded that, but around the same time. But it's just got this great bounce to it, and the guitar work is wonderful. It's got a driving forward movement to it. So Double Feature off of Luna's Penthouse, one I would highly recommend you give a listen to. Go way back. And the Kinks, a band that I have a long history with, always have loved the Kinks. This album, everybody's in showbiz, and the track that I wanted to talk about is Celluloid Heroes, one of the great ballads, one of the lines from the song from Ray Davis, that celluloid heroes never feel any pain and celluloid heroes never really die. But there's, again, so much pathos, so much depth, poignancy to the artists whose stars are on Hollywood Boulevard, and people just sort of walk all over them. And Ray and the band really kind of touches on that, here are some people who were great, and now it's like Rudolph Valentino stares up women's dresses from the star on Hollywood Boulevard. Gorgeous ballad. It's interesting, I put this on, I hadn't played it for a little while and listened to it, and the production on this, which I think, it looks like it was a cutout, it's got that isn't even a sticker. That's actually on the cover, but very muted and not great production. I know they've re-released this in a box set of some kind as well, but it doesn't take anything away from the song. It's just one of those gorgeous Ray Davis ballads, Celluloid Heroes, off of Everybody's in Showbiz. That's number 3. Oh yeah, I got to tell you a Kinks story as well. I may tell this more fully later with Show Me Your Tickets, but when I was in high school, the Kinks had just come out with Sleepwalker, and I bought the album and loved it, and I'd been a Kinks fan for quite a while, so this would have been 76, I guess, and I was so excited to go see them, so I went down, lined up for tickets, set out my sleeping bag, slept all night in the streets of Toronto, in the terrifying streets of Toronto, waiting for the Bass ticket outlet to open. And I think I've told the story before, but I was lining up. Nobody was there. I thought maybe I misunderstood where the Bass ticket outlet was. But lo and behold, when the doors opened at 10 a.m. to get into the Bass ticket outlet, there was nobody behind me. I just rolled up my sleeping bag, went in and got gold box tickets at Maple Leaf Gardens. But that was, the Kinks were not at their peak at that time, that's for sure. So this record also has a great meaning to me. So this is an EP, and the specials and the song in particular, Ghost Town, with that creepy, spooky, I guess, sound that they have on this particular single. This one came out, I think, in 81. Yeah, 1981. I was traveling, backpacking through Europe, and I had met some guys from Leeds and headed back to stay with them. And then there was a air traffic controller strike. So I had a little bit more time in Leeds than I had originally planned, which worked out great. And I was able to enjoy the hospitality of my friends, John and Paul and all those guys, Rob. So hope you guys are listening. And Ghost Town was really about what was happening in England at the time. There's a lot of social unrest, and clubs were indeed being closed down, and this was happening in Leeds as well. So it was kind of an interesting reality matching, what was being played on the radio, and that was very memorable for me. This is a Canadian band, Spirit of the West, Labor Day. This particular record was, I think, really my first introduction to Spirit of the West. Now they have, they're no longer. John Mann passed away, the lead singer. Not unlike, in a more muted fashion, what happened with Gord Downie and Tragically Hip, because although I think they weren't necessarily touring a lot, he had developed a form of dementia. And they were, doing some last shows knowing that John's life wasn't going to be for long. And these guys were amazing. Lots of Celtic influence. And the song off of here that I want to point out is Political. This song, I was dating a girl who was very sort of into personal politics and would question who I was or how I was acting or what my values were. And it was tremendously uncomfortable because on one hand, you're falling in love with somebody, and on the other hand, they are challenging you, and you're feeling, I guess, not accepted to be the best way to put it. But I was playing that song when I broke up with her. I was playing the song Political repeatedly, and it was something that just spoke to me so completely. So Spirit of the West, Labor Day, and the track is Political. Kind of a good segue would be Billy Bragg and this particular album. Billy Bragg's always been known to be very political, and I've seen him live a few times, and he is a wonderful live act. Sometimes goes on a little bit much for my taste. He can be very verbose, and he's got very strong opinions about things, and I respect him tremendously for that. But there are times sometimes where I feel like, just play the music and talk a little bit less. But this is a wonderful album, and it's very personal, a lot of it. So this has got Shirley, or Greetings to the New Brunette, and of course Shirley mentioned on that. But the other one that off of this that I love is Levi Stubbs' Tears. Levi Stubbs was the lead singer of, I think it was the Four Tops. But the way that Billy Bragg creates the environment for like somebody who's listening to who is emoting like Levi Stubbs would when he would get really like, I think Levi Stubbs' lead singer was Sugar Pie Honey Bunch, I Can't Help Myself. And he used to really get worked up in his singing and anyways, Levi Stubbs' Tears, Billy Bragg talking with the Taxman about poetry. Great album. And Levi Stubbs' Tears, a absolute killer track. Another one that maybe you're not familiar with, these are the Del Fuegos, and the track off of here is I Still Want You. A lot of these tracks are ones that I was really into probably in my early 20s. So that era or that time in one's life when you're, I guess, making strong connections to the music, where it speaks to you on an emotional level and you're not sort of jaded and busy with other thoughts in your mind. Everything is about love, is about trying to find yourself, and the music speaks to you and becomes a soundtrack of your life. I Still Want You by the Del Fuegos, just a beautiful, beautiful track of, I guess, maybe requited and then unrequited love, and the person has lost their love and is no longer in their life, and it's a lot of yearning in that. I Still Want You, the Del Fuegos. The album is called Boston, Mass, so that would pretty much confirm that they're probably from that area. Another band that I just loved, Housemartins, and the track I'm going to pick off of this, I maybe talked about this right towards the beginning of my channel, but is I Smell Winter, side one. And this is called Now That's What I Call Quite Good. These are outtakes, these are some recordings and demos and things that didn't fit on some of their regular albums. But some of the stuff that they talk about here, they just make some comments on some of the songs, and one of them is, I Smell Winter, largely ignored 12-inch B-side recorded at Westside between the 12th and the 19th August 86. So these are 86 recordings. But they mentioned certain things like, this was a big hit in in Finland or something like that. You know, it was like big in Japan. Anyways, give a listen to I Smell Winter. It is one of the great rave ups. It's got this great bass line. It just jumps and bounces around. So full of energy, so fantastic. I Smell Winter, the Housemartins. Okay, down to our last two here. This is, of course, an album that many people are familiar with, Sign of the Times. I remember when this came out, I just played this record to death. And that song, the title track, Sign of the Times, I just found to be so powerful, really stripped down, basic rhythm, with that kind of like little sort of beatbox sound in the background. And then when he goes, oh yeah, and it just comes in punchy and punchy, but it never gets super loud. It's got this tension throughout. And of course, the whole thing is addressing HIV and AIDS and things like that. A great track. And, you know, one of the things mentioned about Prince was that a lot of my friends weren't Prince fans. You know, they kind of came at it from a strictly rock and roll perspective, not so much the sort of R&B, soul, rock, whatever you want to call the melting pot, the stew that is Prince that made him uniquely Prince. But when he came to town on, I think, the last tour that I went, or that he came to town before his passing, went to go see him, Third Eye Blind. It was an all-girl band. I reached out to all my friends. Most of my friends are super into music. Asked if anybody wanted to go down to Seattle and go see Prince, and it was just radio silence. Nobody was interested, and I went down by myself, and it was just so great to be able to have seen him in concert at least once in my life, and a huge loss, really, when you think about it. That guy, people talk about Jimi Hendrix and others in terms of what would they be producing today, or, you know, what would have been late career material that they would have done. I think Prince would have been always fascinating right to the end. It was too bad that it happened too soon. And finally, number 10, Art Bergmann. This may mean something to some Canadians, but probably not a lot to the US. I think Art was signed to Sony on a record, but this was actually a release on Duke Street Records, which was a small independent label out of Toronto. And this one was, the track I wanted to pick off of this is My Empty House. That was the single off of this record. Had a video for it as well. The song to me is just, it's like a caged animal. He's just like somebody who is wailing and clearly lots of demons going on. He just screams authenticity. You know, when you listen to something and somebody is expressing or emoting and you can feel the authenticity, the genuineness, and that the demons are real. You know, it's not just a performance. Do we really know? Sometimes great performers maybe are able to bring that up, and it may not be something that they, but I have to believe that they've experienced it and they're channeling it in some way. But Art Bergmann, he was in a band called the Young Canadians, you know, part of the whole DOA Vancouver scene. He was a Vancouver-based artist. He's actually coming to town and doing a show at a little place on Powell Street in Vancouver, I think April 12th at Lana Lou's, right next door where I used to live, but right down in the downtown east side. Art Bergmann, really a very special performer and someone that I thought was great. The track is My Empty House, first track off of this record. So I want to thank everybody for those of you that have been watching, and I'm very excited for year 3 and continuing on to do this. I've got lots of different ideas of things I like to do. I sometimes feel like it'd be nice to try to find some other things to focus on over and above just here are my albums and here are some songs and maybe some thematic ideas. But and I like the idea of doing shows with other people. So if anyone out there sort of feels like they might like to have a dialogue, much like Tokyo Records style, or certainly Rachel's Ghost and things like that, I'd be very interested in jumping on and doing some of those things. I'm kind of one of those people that doesn't maybe always make a lot of effort to say, hey, I'm here and I want to be on your show. But happy to do it if anybody's interested. Please reach out. I've got Fitz Electric Bar as an Instagram account as well, so you can reach me via that. And if you wouldn't mind, subscribe and like. All the best. And for everybody out there, Happy New Year. Carpe diem, MFs.